Do you ever get crazy, funny, dumb questions from people you love when it comes to your writing? Today we are just going to answer some interesting, kind of dumb questions from a non-writer person. So stick around. Hello, my name is Jennifer Aline. I am a freelance writer, social media manager, the mother of twin girls, and my debut novel, That Age, is coming out winter of 2020-2021. As a writer, you probably get lots of very interesting questions from friends, family, followers, people who just kind of are interested in your creative lifestyle. And some of those questions can be a little odd. So today I thought it might be fun to have my sister, who is a very knowledgeable, smart, talented physical therapist, not somebody on the creative side of things, ask me some writerly questions that some may see as dumb, while really they're curious what the heck we do and how we do it. I'm going to just kind of give you a little bit of information about my sister. She is a physical therapist in New York City. She lives in Hoboken. She works with athletes and people who want to do marathons and big races. She's a big runner. But whenever I ask her, about books, she says she can't read, which obviously to get through all the schooling she's gotten through, she's had to read. However, she likes to read nonfiction, usually books that focus on what she's working on, the body, the mind, how it connects. She has read The Hunger Games. I always tell her, you read the Hunger Games series in a few months, so we know you can read fiction. But she really does prefer usually the nonfiction stuff. She doesn't know too much about writing, and she's never really liked writing. So when I asked for some questions, she knew that we may see them as dumb, but really they're not dumb. There's never a dumb question. They're funny, and I wanted to answer some of these questions for her. So let's take a look. The first question that she sent me was, how do you think of so many things to say and write about? Don't you get bored after a while? It's a good question, honestly. I think we think the same thing, we meaning writers, about a lot of people who have different hobbies. This just is a question that people who have different hobbies you fully don't connect with or understand may wonder how you do it without getting bored. For example, my sister is a runner. She can run miles and miles and miles and miles and then come back into the real world and be fine, while I do my run walks and I get bored unless I'm listening to like an audiobook, but I get bored from that. So in retrospect, it's very similar to that. If you love something and if you're focused on something and it means something to you, you may get bored after a few hours of doing it. You may need a break, but then you're ready to get back into it. It's something your body and mind just have to do because you love it. And that's writing to me. This part of her question is, how do you think of so many things to say and write about? And I think as somebody with a creative mind and someone who's always been writing forever, thoughts and stories just come to you. They come from experiences. They come from things you witness. You kind of merge some experiences and thoughts and ideas together, and then all of a sudden something clicks and you go, what about this? And you have to write it down. I usually put it in my notes. And that's it. Just over time, I think for me, stories come from little thoughts and experiences that come together and create something new. My dog. Let me know when you're ready, bud. So when those thoughts and experiences come together, it creates something new. And I think that for creative people, that's how these ideas come into play and work. Number 2 makes me laugh. It is, are you writing the same type of stories all the time? And my sister, a few weeks ago, she knows that That Age is coming out, and she calls it that, is it that love romance stuff? That's kind of what she calls it. And I said, yes, there's romance. There's some comic relief. There's friendships. And she goes, oh yeah. I mean, she's not into that stuff. She wants her, black and white. That's how she is. Or hard fantasy. That's kind of just how my sister is. And when I told her about the work in progress I'm working on, she asked the same thing. Oh, is it that love, friend, relationship stuff? And that's the genre I write for, the age category. And yes, it is. And I'm proud of it. I love writing women's fiction. I love writing chick lit and just fun, easy stuff to read with those deep moments that really make you think, or those deep topics that affect you and impact you in ways that they're relatable. It's a relatable story with, it's something fun to read and write. And I love writing for that genre. I love fantasy. I will always, I think, want to write something fantasy again in the future. I like young adult. So when you find a genre and age category that you really love and clicks for you, yeah, usually you write the same kind of stuff. And that's why it makes me laugh, because my sister is like, oh, that stuff, you write that stuff. I write that stuff and I love it. 3 was, how do you keep motivation to keep writing 100+ pages? Does it get daunting after some point? And I think a lot of people focus on page count more than what's really in the story. What's the deep, dark stuff in the story that you should focus on rather than the numbers? And I think sometimes after you get past a certain page or so, you start thinking more when it comes to numbers, because you're like, oh, how many pages will this be? What's the word count? It can be daunting. It can be daunting seeing those numbers continue to increase in a good way. And then when you know your genre and age category, and when it comes to querying, you need to stay in a certain little number span. So that can be a little bit daunting. But for me, it's really never been super intimidating, because I just write. I don't really worry about the word count. And then when I go through my drafts, honestly, the word count goes down after my edits. So I'm an overwriter, so I know that it's going to go down. And I've learned that over time. I've done this a few times. And it to me isn't daunting, but for some people who may be writing a 20-page or a 5-page project for school seems like a lot, when you think about 100+ pages, yeah, that's a little daunting. Or I would definitely fall asleep after looking at the screen for that long. Don't you get tired after a while? You get tired after running like 10+ miles almost every single day? I would. But really, I write mostly at night, and yes, after a while I get tired, because that's just life. And coffee, I'll have a live stream, so I have kind of other people to chat with sometimes or talk to. I mentally prepare myself for night times. I try to stay cozy, I try to stay comfortable, and I look forward to it. So yes, sometimes I can be tired because it's after a long day of caring for my girls, but I'm looking forward to writing. And after a few hours at night, that's good, and I'm content. But yeah, I get it. It can be really tiring after some time. And I think it's that way for everybody when they have a hobby. Like I said, my sister runs a ton, and just thinking about running 10 miles or 8 miles or 15 miles a day tires me out thinking about it. So I think for people's hobbies that just don't click with them, running is not my favorite thing in the world. I do aerial. My sister does not do aerial. She is not interested in aerial arts at all. So she may think, I would try to climb a silk one time and I'm tired. To me, it just works. Every human is different. So number 5 of the questions. Isn't it hard to make thoughts in your head that are not real a reality in a book, to portray those thoughts on paper? I think, again, this kind of comes from just being a writer and being a creative person. Some people don't have that creativity in their brain to just make believe and have a huge imagination and just see stories coming to life and have to write them down. For me, it is tough. I think for writers all over the place, it can be tough to start that out, getting those thoughts in an organized way. For me, I have my general outline where I plug in certain things about the plot, the characters, their motives, their hopes, what their major plots are. If there's subplots, I put that down. It can be a little tough getting into the meat of the story and then going back and having to look at the outline, add to the outline, and organize. So it can be tough organizing. Come to life and getting the thoughts from here onto the screen. It's just a connection that is magical, as cliche as it sounds. And I think other writers would absolutely relate to that. And if you're not a writer, if you're not somebody who does this, you see this as just a boring job that you're at school having to write this paper they're forcing you to write. But writers write because they love it. And getting that connection from the thoughts in your head to the story is the goal. You want to be able to do that in such an easy way, and you want that story to be just clear and crisp and engaging. And when that happens, it is like a marathon runner crossing that marathon line and then looking forward to the next one. I don't know how they would look forward to that after. I'd vomit. Those were 5 questions that a non-writerly person asked a writerly person, or in some ways, dumb questions from a smart person. I don't know how exactly I'm going to name this, but it's kind of fun. So maybe I'll do this more often and ask people who are not writers to ask me questions. So thank you guys for just listening to this easy, chatty video as I answered some questions from my very intelligent sister. If you like this kind of content, subscribe below, hit the thumbs up button. I post every Friday, and I appreciate your support. So thank you very much. Stay creative. And it's a very, very hot day today. Drink the iced coffee. All of it.